everybody, and welcome back to the Laughing Man Network's Football Fantasycast. This is episode 2.5. Today we're going to cover some buy low candidates, some sell high candidates, some guys that maybe you should hold on to, not sell just yet. We'll wait for their value to come up. We're going to go over this week's big sits and starts, and we're going to talk just general fantasy leading up into the weekend. I hope everybody's doing all right. I hope y'all had a better weekend than I did. I lost Dak Prescott, big Cowboys fan. It looks like we're going to struggle for a while. Cooper Rush coming in, no telling what he's going to do. He's got a small sample size of games he played. I don't know what to do there. Mari Cooper had a decent game the last time Cooper Rush started. CeeDee Lamb had a decent game. So it's kind of up in the air. If you went and got Cooper Rush off the waivers this week to replace Dak, you may want to wait a week, see what happens. But otherwise, real football, my Cowboys are going to struggle for a while. So I hope Dak gets well. And yeah, I hope we can bounce back towards the end of the season, but it's looking pretty grim. As far as fantasy goes, I had a rough weekend. I went 1-7 across my 8 money leagues, and most of that was I have some of the same guys across the board. I had Eli Mitchell get hurt. I had T. Higgins get hurt. I lost one game by 3 points, I think. It was a weird scoring league where you lose points for sacks and such. So Matt Stafford scored me -1.5. A rough week. But it's week one. We don't want to panic. We still have plenty of football to be played. We still have 13 games left before the playoffs. So plenty of time to bounce back, plenty of time to make your team better. And we're going to start off. I'm going to pull out my old fart notebook. We're going to talk about buy low candidates. One guy who didn't suffer a serious injury that should limit him throughout the season was T. Higgins. He came out. He was a big own guy, big buy guy for me last week that I talked about. He got knocked out with a concussion. He may or may not play in week 2, but you're going to have some people who are going to look at that like, oh, he already got hurt. So I'm scared of him. I'm lowering him down in my rankings. Go get T. Higgins. If it's still early in the season, if he comes back week 3, you're still looking at a wide receiver 1 upside wide receiver for the rest of the season. So go get T. Higgins, find the guy who's got him, and see if he's low on him, see if he's really upset about him getting a concussion, maybe missing week 2. Go get him now. Go get him while he's cheap. Number 2 is Edmonds. Chase Edmonds for the Miami Dolphins. He got decent workload. I think he got like 15 touches, but it was a weird game. New England is always a weird team to play against, especially in those Miami-New England matchups. Edmonds still was involved in the passing game a bit. He got a lot more rushes than Mostert. Mostert only played a few snaps. So Chase Edmonds is the guy in Miami, and I think there's going to be better days ahead for him. He's going to get used to having that check down guy. Edmonds is going to have some pretty decent games. So after having a, not so impressive week, see if you can go get Edmonds on the cheap. Maybe move down in a package from, your Akers. I'd be willing to, even if you have Gibson and you move down off Gibson and get Edmonds in a piece, I'm all good with going to get Chase Edmonds. Next is Alvin Kamara. The Saints won their game, but it was a very awkward game. Nobody really got a rhythm going until the last few drives of the game where Winston was having to move the ball downfield. But Alvin Kamara had a man game. Taysom Hill ran a long touchdown. I think there's going to be better days ahead for Alvin Kamara, and I think you're going to find a lot of owners who are like, oh, you see, I shouldn't have drafted Alvin Kamara so early. No, go get Alvin Kamara. Go get him now. Find that guy who's willing to give him up cheap and, see if you can have Alvin Kamara for the, down the stretch, because He's going to get much better as the season goes on, I believe. Next, you have Allen Robinson. A lot of people are down on Allen Robinson because he had that bad game against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo brought the house all night. They were getting through the Rams line. Stafford had no time. Stafford was going to his first read, whether it was Higbee or Kupp, almost constantly. So I'm not sold on Allen Robinson being a bust. I think Allen Robinson is going to have better games. He's not going to be Cooper Kupp. He's not going to be the guy he used to be. But Allen Robinson still has value, and people are so down on him right now. Go out there, see if you can get Allen Robinson on the cheap for something, or throw in on a package. Find that guy who's super upset about that week 1 production, and I think you're going to get decent games out of Allen Robinson throughout the season. Next is Mooney, Darnell Mooney for the Bears. They had a rough game in Chicago this week. It was like a hurricane coming through, and they couldn't get downfield much. You did get 2 touchdowns out of Fields, but Mooney's the type of receiver who gets downfield. You're looking for him deep, and he only had, I think it was 8 yards per catch. So he wasn't getting downfield. I don't know if Fields could even see that far in the rain like that, but I'm not down on Mooney. I think Mooney, again, he's going to have better weeks. He's a guy that's going to, 1 catch can instantly put him in that, wide receiver 3, top end wide receiver 3 production. Catches a few more balls, you're looking at a wide receiver 2 on the week easy. So Darnell Mooney, find the person who's down on him, find the person who didn't, pay attention to the weather conditions. Go get Mooney in your team, put him down, and get ready to flex him. Same team, same game. We're going to go with Kmet. I think Cole Kmet was just again, you had the rain, you had the weather, you had defenses are going to pin their ears back. They're going to come at the quarterback because they know he's not going to be able to get downfield in the rain. So you had defense pressing him. Kmet was going to be needed to block a little more. He did run a few routes. But he didn't do much. I think he scored a big 0. I don't think he caught a ball. I think he might have only had 1 target. But people are going to be down on Cole Kmet. They're going to be looking to move off of him already. They're going to get upset about it. Don't. Kmet is still going to have that 20 to 25% target share. So go get him now. If you need a tight end, find that guy who is sour. Go get him. Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks had a few targets, a few catches in his debut game. Again, this is a guy that he didn't blow up his first game, so his value didn't necessarily go up. And you're going to have people who are going to be willing to move him as an extra piece in something. He's going to have better games as the season goes on. Once Henry gets going, you're going to see safeties and everybody moving up. So you're going to have more open looks downfield along the sideline for Treylon Burks. So if you can get him as a throw-in one of your trades, I still say go get Treylon. And last is Boyd. I think Tyler Boyd is always a guy that seems for years you can go get cheap. Nobody is really concerned about him, but he's got a guaranteed role in that offense. Higgins might miss at least a week. And even so, he's a slot receiver. He's not going to see any kind of significant coverage. He's going to have some games where he may disappear 6 to 8 points, but he's got guaranteed targets in the offense. And if he catches those targets, you're looking at a 10, 12, 14-point game. If he catches a touchdown, you may be looking at a 16 to 20-point game. So Boyd is another guy. If you can get him in on the throw-in, go ahead and get him. He's still a buy for me. As far as selling, guys I still want to sell, James Robinson. It was really nice to see James Robinson back on the field, have some burst. But I'm still saying that you can go and sell James Robinson now since he had that good game. They still have ETN. ETN, they pulled him out at halftime, but they're going to keep trying to build that kid's confidence. He's going to get more chances to shine, and he's going to get more receptions. James Robinson caught a few balls in this game. I don't think that's going to be the norm. I think they're going to go straight back to splitting the work. and I still want to see him last a while on that Achilles. I know it's one game that he did really well, but I want to see multiple games before I'm sold on James Robinson. So if you can sell him high after a 19, 20-point game like this, he still only played 49% of the snaps. So I say try and go sell him, see what you can get, see if you can trade off in that tier, that round 3, round 4 tier of running backs that they had. See if you can go get somebody decent, maybe even a decent wide receiver. But next, I have Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson had a huge week, but DJ Moore didn't have a whole lot going on this week, and I don't think that's going to be normal. I think DJ Moore is going to be the target guy. The team was all out of sorts. Baker wanted to start making up for the fumbles that he had in the first half, the terrible first half he had. And he was throwing Robbie Anderson a lot. I think he threw Robbie Anderson 10 or 11 targets in the game. DJ Moore only had, I think, 5 or 6. So I think going, through the season, Robbie Anderson's still going to be valuable. He's still going to have wide receiver 3 value. But I think that after a high game like this, people were hyping him a little bit. See if you can add him to somebody, James Robinson or something like that, and move up and grab, maybe a better running back or, better wide receiver and use him as a piece to sell now before DJ Moore gets going. That was another thing. Christian McCaffrey also didn't have a great game. They're going to get him involved a lot more. And I think Robbie Anderson, I think this might be about his peak. So go ahead and sell him now. If you got him off waivers, you may be able to add him in and improve your roster elsewhere. I'm still on Antonio Gibson. I'm still saying sell him. Same reasons. Played 64% of snaps. He's the only guy they have right now. But as we said, Brian Robinson is going to be back at some point. And at any point, if Antonio Gibson fumbles the ball, has a bad game, the coaching staff is already breathing down his neck. So I don't want to sit around and wait for that bomb to explode. So if you can move Gibson still, while he has value, after he scored 22 points, try and go do that and maximize your value for Antonio Gibson. Rashad Penny. If people still view Rashad Penny as being that starter and they still remember last season, try and sell him Rashad Penny. I still feel it's only a matter of time before he has maybe some injury issues. Kenneth Walker is going to be coming back within the next couple weeks, and he's not involved in the passing game. I think this week they threw him 3 balls, but they were very short emergency dump offs. He only got 7 yards, and I think he only got 14 carries. So I want to see more from my running backs that I probably drafted to be starter flex. But I think with him, people still thinking of last year and knowing what he can do, and he made it through week 1 healthy, I think they'll be willing to pay a little something for him. So see if you can go move off of him, maybe scoot over or scoot up a little bit to a Chase Edmonds, and try to get a little more security health-wise down the stretch. Another guy I am selling if I have him is going to be Nick Chubb. I talk mostly about PPR as when I talk about these guys, and Nick Chubb still just isn't going to be involved in the passing game. Nick Chubb played 53% of snaps. He split almost down the middle with Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt, once they got down to the goal line, is the one they played. Kareem Hunt scored 2 touchdowns. Chubb had a good day, but he had a huge day. He ran for 144 yards, and you would think that'd be a huge day. He scored 16 points. Whereas you look over at Saquon Barkley, who had 168 total yards, and he scored in the 30s. Or I think it was high 20s, 30s, depending on what your league is. I want a guy who catches balls. So if you have Chubb, I'm willing to move. See if somebody wants to give you Barkley, somebody who's still unsure about the health questions and everything, and or see if you can find the Hunt guy and see, hey, would you rather Chubb? Go get Kareem Hunt and a piece. But I'm willing to move off Chubb, especially now while the name value and the draft value is all still really high. I think he still has a good season, but I think you can find a little more consistency in your lineup by moving off of him, maybe going after Alvin Kamara. So guys, I want to hold. We had Cam Akers, extremely disappointing week in week 1. 3 carries, 0 yards. Darrell Henderson seems to be the starter over there. But Akers' value right now is rock bottom. I think you need to hold on to him. Find that spot on your roster. Don't start him yet until we see this. See him, make sure he's healthy. See where this workload goes, and maybe once he has a pop-off game, then try to sell him. I think they're going to be trying to split the backfield up. No telling for how long. So if he has a pop-off game, trade him off your bench. But until then, sit him at the back end of your bench and just hope that day comes. Another hold is Dak Prescott. I've seen a lot of people wanting to sell Dak Prescott because he just got hurt. I understand that. But because he just got hurt, his value is rock bottom right now. We don't know if he's coming back in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So hold on to Dak. They're not putting him on the IR, so you're going to have to work him in and out off of IR if it allows outs. But I think you need to hold Dak, wait till you get a little better word, and come down with an exact date that he's going to be returning. And then I think that's when you sell Dak Prescott. I think he will be a sell. He was a huge buy for me last week. But I think at that point, if you found another quarterback who can help you get through, I think you can sell Dak and move down and get somebody else to help you fill in quarterback and maybe get an extra piece on the side. Next is going to be Eli Mitchell. Same reason. His value is rock bottom right now. He's going to be out about 2 months, but he is on IR. So you can put him in your IR slot. Don't get rid of him. Wait till they give us a date. See how this running back situation in San Francisco plays out. See how well these other guys do. Hopefully, for Eli Mitchell owners, if those guys don't pan out, Eli Mitchell will come back and be the starter again, and his value would be much higher. Then down the stretch, you can make a move and try to improve your roster there. Next guy is that I want you to hold is Wentz. Wentz has a pretty good schedule this season. Washington doesn't play a lot of tough teams, and he had a good week. He's going to have some down games, I'm sure. He plays a couple of tough teams, but they seem to have a good wide receiver core. Gibson's catching passes again. McKissick's going to catch passes. I think they're going to be in some shootouts, especially with Philadelphia and the way the Giants like to get the ball downfield on offense, as bad as their defense and all is, and inconsistent it is. But I think you should hold on to Wentz. It could be a good wide receiver 2 for you. Maybe you have to plug him in as your wide receiver 1 some weeks. But just to look down the list of teams he's got to play this season, he's got the Lions, Dallas, Tennessee, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, Houston, Atlanta, New York, bye in New York, first week of the playoffs. So hold on to Wentz. None of those teams scare me. And you could be looking at good production comparable to his, the big season he had back in Philadelphia. I think you have that upside, and you could be looking at a really good season from Wentz this year. Guys, now let's go into the sits and starts that I have. When I do sits, I'm not going to tell you the sits and starts. I'm not going to tell you, you need to go out there and start Justin Jefferson. You're going to start Justin Jefferson. Go start Josh Allen. Everybody, those are guys, those top 20 players or so, 30 players, you're starting every week. That's not going to be a question. So these are guys that I think you can go down, put in your super flex, put in your flexes, that third wide receiver slot. Guys that, you may have injuries, you may have guys who have tough matchups, and you can, put these guys into your lineup this week, or guys that I think you should pull out of your lineup. My starts of the week are going to be Trey Lance. I know Trey Lance was a pretty high draft pick, but people are going to be down on him after that Chicago game last week. He plays Seattle this week. Seattle's not a great defense. I think they get him on track. So go out there, start Trey Lance. I think he's projected to score like 19 points or so. I think he beats that this week. I think he rushes a touchdown or two. So go out there. If you have Trey Lance, don't freak out. Don't sit Trey Lance out there. So that's going to be probably my most obvious selection. But again, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. I said Baker last week. He borderline hit. This week he plays the New York Giants, who, as we know, they don't have a great defense. He's only projected to score, I think, about 16.5 points. I think he can easily crush that. I think he gets DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey on track for the season. And I think you're looking at a pretty decent week from Baker Mayfield, probably over 20 points. Wentz from Detroit is going to be my other QB start. He's projected to score 20 points. I think he beats that. I think him and Goff go back and forth a little bit. And I think Wentz is going to have another 2 to 3 touchdown game, maybe 250 to 300 yards. So I think you're looking at a pretty good game from Wentz as well. So down in your super flex, go ahead and play those guys. I do have one more quarterback. Justin Fields is another guy that I think a lot of teams are going to be down on. They're playing in bad weather versus San Francisco. It's also pretty good defense in San Francisco as well. So I think Fields struggled a little bit. He still led the team back to a win. He's scored 2 touchdowns. I think this week against Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to sling a few touchdowns. They're going to make the Bears have to move the ball. And I think you could be looking at some rushing upside from Justin Fields. And I think he's going to beat that 19.4 projection that he has. So down in your flex, don't be scared to play Justin Fields and start getting him back on the field. Running backs, my starts are going to be Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt looked like the guy they were giving the ball to on the goal line. He scored 2 touchdowns. He's involved in the passing game. So just continue to start Kareem Hunt. He's probably upper tier. You probably already have to start Kareem Hunt. But just want to reassure that you should be starting Kareem Hunt on a weekly basis, no matter the matchup. Next guy I have is Jeff Wilson. We talked about Eli Mitchell. Eli Mitchell's going to be out. Jeff Wilson's the next man up, and the San Francisco offense is going to run the ball. They always do. Shanahan loves to run the ball. Wilson's proven himself for years that, he's a really good backup, and he can do it all. So I think Jeff Wilson's going to come in. He's going to take over that role, and I think he's going to beat the 12.3 that he's projected to score this week. So go ahead. If you got Jeff Wilson off the waivers, plug him in this week. I think he's all right in your running back 2 slot or your flex. Next down, I have David Montgomery. A lot of people, he was one of my hot takes for the season. I think he's going to have a decent season by the end of it. But he had a down week again, the bad weather. It was awkward. Khalil Herbert, he took a touchdown on the goal line, I think on a dry field in Green Bay. Monty gets going, and he was also involved in the passing game against San Francisco. I think he had 4 targets. So that's decent enough for me. If they keep that up, I think Monty could be looking at a decent game against Green Bay, who doesn't have the best defense in the world. So I think he can get back on track and have a decent game. Next, I have wide receivers. So as far as wide receivers go, I'm going to go with Allen Robinson. I said already that I think it was just a bad start for Allen Robinson. I think they find a way to get him the ball this upcoming week. And I think they try to get him in the end zone. I think you're looking at a touchdown from Allen Robinson. And I think he can beat out the projection that he has, which is 13 points. I think he can get 15, 16 points, and he'll be a solid play for you. So don't panic on Allen Robinson. Get him back into your lineup and expect a decent week. Josh Palmer. We know Keenan Allen hurt his hamstring. He may be out at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. Josh Palmer is the next man up, high-powered offense. He's proven that he can get it done in the NFL. He did it last year. Down the stretch, he was scoring 14, 15, 16 points for 3-4 weeks in a row. So go ahead and get Josh Palmer. You're going to want him against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to score. So I think Josh Palmer is going to come out and he's going to crush this. I think it's 12 points, 11 and a half points he's projected. I think you're looking at a touchdown, maybe 2 if they cover up Mike Williams. But go ahead and get him. Start Josh Palmer this week. Mooney's only projected to score 9.5 points against Green Bay. Green Bay is not a crazy good defense. The Bears are gonna have to throw the ball to keep up with Aaron Rodgers this week, I think. And Mooney is gonna have an opportunity to start getting downfield. He played most of the snaps last week, 85 to 90% of the snaps, I believe. He's going to continue to do that. He's their number one. And I think they try to right the ship, get downfield, and get Mooney some confidence going into the season because that's a guy that if they can get hot, he can be really good throughout the year at opening up the field for them. So expect Mooney to beat that 9.5 point projection, and I think you can slip him down in your flex. Next, I have Zay Jones. Zay Jones played 83% of snaps for the Jags. He's technically, I think, the third wide receiver on there, but he's a lot better than Brown is at this point. And I don't expect Zay to stay the number 3, or not Brown, Marvin Jones. I don't expect him to stay the number 3 for the whole season. He was targeted 9 times. One of those targets, he was in the end zone, and it was on his fingertips. He dove out for it. This is a guy who's a big play guy. He gets downfield. He catches touchdowns. So I think Zay Jones with the 8.5 points, 8.5 points he's projected to score this week. I think he can crush that he can get that in one play. So I think Zay Jones is a decent start this week. So if you're looking for a flex, have confidence in Zay Jones. Another one, honorable mention, is Hardman. Nicole Hardman, they're Kansas City Chiefs. They're going against the Chargers. It's expected to be a shootout. They're going to have to keep up. And the most familiar face that Patrick Mahomes has there is Nicole Hardman. He scored a touchdown this past week, but Mahomes spread the ball all over. I don't expect them to throw a touchdown to everybody every week. Nicole Hardman is a guy that they trust in open field. They get him the ball off to the side, just a couple yards out. Kind of does some of the things Tyreek used to do, but he's really fast, and Mahomes trusts him. I think in a game like this, they're going to have to rely a little bit on Hardman and get him in the open field, create some space, and I think they'll be able to do that at least once, and that should be enough to cover his 10-point projection. So, tight ends. I'm starting Gerald Everett. Again, Keenan Allen's hurt. High-powered offense. Kansas City Chiefs. Get Gerald Everett. I think he can beat that 11.1 projected that he has. I think he can do that in just 3 or 4 receptions. So go get Everett. They're going to need somebody in the middle of the field. And I think he's going to be that guy along with Josh Palmer. Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet can beat the 8.3 projected that he has this week. Again, Bears had that bad game. So I'm basically looking at almost all of the Bears to have a bounce back game against Green Bay. I don't think long-term, season-long, they're going to be great options, but I expect them to have a bounce back this week after going through the rough last year in week 1. or last week in week 1. Other guy I'm looking at is Hayden Hurst versus the Cowboys, especially if Higgins is down. If Higgins doesn't play, Hurst is a must play for me. Even last week, he had 8 targets. He's better option than they had last year with Uzama, and Uzama was decent. So Hayden Hurst, I think this week you're looking at, potential top 8, top 10 tight end production. And if you need some help at tight end, I'd play him over Njoku. I'd play him over Higbee, and a few other guys. So if you need help at tight end, you can play Hayden Hurst, and I think you might be able to still get him off of waivers. So with the starts, we have to counter that, and we have to have our sits because to start people, you have to sit people. So quarterbacks that I'm willing to sit this week, I'm going to start with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is projected to score 17.5 points, but he plays the Buffalo Bills. The Bills got after Stafford last week. He had a horrible game. And Tennessee's just, I don't think, as good as the Rams are. So I think the Bills are going to get after him. I think Tannehill's going to struggle a little bit. They may be able to get Henry going a little bit, and Tannehill may score a touchdown. But I think Tannehill is going to either dead on hit that 17.5, which isn't great, or he's going to fall just short this week against a really good defense in the Bills. Another guy I'm sitting is Jameis Winston. It's a division matchup versus the Bucs. These two teams always play each other real scrappy. And I like Jameis Winston. He's projected to score 20.5 points this week, but he's going to be missing Godwin. Mike Evans doesn't have a good history of being able to get open versus the New Orleans Saints. So it's going to come down to Julio Jones. And few teams know Julio Jones better than the New Orleans Saints. So I think they may struggle. I think both offenses are going to struggle this week. I think it's going to be a scrappy game. I think you may be looking at another 14-7, 14-9, something like that, something real ugly. And I think Jameis Winston this week, they may try to get Alvin Kamara involved a little more, and they may need Taysom Hill to come in and run some trick plays. So that's not good for Winston. I think Winston's going to struggle to hit that 20 points this week. So if you have him and you have a guy like Baker, Wentz, maybe Fields, go ahead and start them over Winston this week versus the Bucs. Running backs, I have Najee Harris. I love Najee. However, he did hurt his leg last week. He may not play this week, but if he does, I think he's going to be limited. So he's only projected to score, I think, 12 points this week. If he hits that, I think it's going to be lower. Just go ahead and sit Najee. They're playing against New England. And New England they're fits for offenses. So sit Najee this week. Try to find a fill-in. Maybe Edmonds, Hunt, Jeff Wilson, Pollard, and get him replaced this week. Next up, we got the same game. I'm going to go with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I'm sitting both of these guys until I can see what the offense wants to do. They even threw Damian Harris 3 balls last week. I think we need to wait and see and let this offense pan out and see where the touches go. They're both projected to score around 9.5 points. I don't want to bet on who's going to get the touchdown. So go ahead and sit both of the New England running backs this week until we figure out what's going on over there. Dobbins might play against Miami. Miami seems to have a decent defense. So I'm not too excited about starting Dobbins in his first game back if he does play. So if he does play, he's projected to score 9.6. I think they ease him in, throw him a few balls, but they didn't bring Kenyon Drake in for nothing. So I don't think they're in too much of a rush to get Dobbins back. So if Dobbins does start, keep him out of your lineup and find a replacement for him. Next, I have Ezekiel Elliott versus Cincinnati. We lost Dak. That may not be too much of a factor on Zeke long term, but Zeke is projected to score 12.6 points against Cincinnati, who even Pittsburgh struggled against. So Cincinnati's got a decent defense. I wouldn't go to Zeke this week unless you have to. I think they're going to load up on him. I think they're going to make Cooper Rush go out there and make plays and force him to move the ball downfield. So I think Zeke is going to not find a lot of room to run this week. I think they're going to have to gadget Pollard some more touches, especially in the passing game. And I'm just not expecting it out of Zeke just yet. And to be honest, it may not happen until Dak comes back. So wide receivers, guys that I'm going to sit. Number one, Mike Evans. A lot of people might be surprised about that. You might have drafted Mike Evans as your number one receiver. Hopefully he's not your number one and you're able to slip somebody else and wait on him and get him as your wide receiver too. But this week, if you can fill somebody in, if you have somebody else in your roster, even Josh Palmer, if you can sit Mike Evans this week, I don't think you'll be upset about it. You may have to flex him depending on your roster, but just to give you a rundown on Mike Evans over the years, he doesn't have a good track record versus the Saints. You're looking at the past 7 games that he's had versus the Saints. You have 12.8 points, 2 receptions, 2.4 points, 1 reception, 7.3 points, 1 reception in the playoffs, 7.2 points, 1 reception, 10.4, 4 receptions, 0 points, 3 targets, 10.9 on 4 receptions. He's had 16 matches versus the Saints in his career, including, 17 if you include the playoffs in 2021. 3 times in his career, he's been a wide receiver 1 or 2, which means he's in the flex range. So if you have to play him in the flex, that's fine. You may be looking at 8, 9, 10, maybe 12 points if he scores a touchdown. He's got the touchdown upside. So you can flex him, but if you only have maybe 1 flex position, you only start 2 receivers, I think you might be able to find somebody to slip in there who may score a few more points than Mike Evans this week. Hard guy to sit, but I'm going to take a chance, and I'm willing to sit him this week if you have somebody that you can slip in. Next up, Claypool, projected to score 12.1. Again, Claypool was a big sell for me. I wanted him off my rosters. I didn't draft him anywhere. They're playing New England. So don't play Claypool this week. Find somebody else to put in there. I don't think Claypool is going to hold much value until somebody gets hurt in Pittsburgh. CeeDee Lamb, 14.9 point projection. Cooper Rush is his quarterback now. I'm not rushing out there to play CeeDee Lamb just yet until I see how Cooper comes out. 14.9 points is quite a lot. I think they bottle Zeke up. I think they cover CeeDee Lamb, and they make Cooper Rush go through his reads and test to see if he can play quarterback. So CeeDee Lamb is a top guy. You drafted him high. You may have to still flex him, but if you have better options, go ahead and sit CD. And then DK Metcalf. They had a decent opening game. I think spirits were high because they were playing in Seattle, but I'm going to sit DK until further notice, until I can see if Geno can move the ball a little better and get the ball downfield. Got him in a lot of spots where he got hit as soon as he grabbed it. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on DK. He's projected to score 11 points. That's not much. So I'm willing down in the flex. If you can move him in, get Josh Palmer, get Allen Robinson, get Boyd, Mooney. I'm willing to play them over DK Metcalf this week. Tight ends to sit. Dawson Knox. I'm just not interested in Knox. He'd have to score a touchdown, I think, every week for him to be worth it. They're playing against Atlanta, but I think there's a chance that in Atlanta they try to get the run game going a little bit, try and get Singletary going, maybe get Cook some touches. And I think they get up big with Diggs and Gabe Davis and the other guys. So I don't think they're going to need Knox. So avoid Knox this week. He's projected to score 11.5. Even though it's a good matchup, I think he may struggle to get that, especially if he doesn't catch a touchdown. Again, and then another tight end is going to be Higbee. I'm not super excited about it. And actually, I had a mix-up. The Bills don't play Atlanta. I'm blanking on it right now. But anyway, don't play Knox this week. Higbee going up against Atlanta. I think they try to get Allen Robinson going. I don't think Higbee is going to be the one read quick throw that they tried to get last week. He's projected to score 11.4. But this week, I think I'm going to avoid Higbee. Try to get a guy in there like Komet, Hurst, Everett, if you were able to get him off of waivers. Go ahead and put them in over Higbee and wait for better days from Higbee. He's going to be involved more, but I think Allen Robinson, with all the talk and during the week and everything, and the media and social media, I think they're going to try and get Allen Robinson on track, get their wide receivers on track, and try to get some momentum going. So that's it. Those are guys that I want to sit and start. Guys that I told you that you should buy and sell. Just want to let y'all know that we have other channels on the Laughing Man Network. If you go through our page on YouTube, you can find we have a wrestling show with Rocky and Wes. If you guys just want to sit and, let's recap the week on AEW and WWE, check us out on there. We're going to be releasing some episodes about gaming. Rocky's working really hard right now on a Metal Gear Solid show. And him, Mac, and Wes are going to be putting that together. So look out for that. We still have a Bloodborne episode that we're going to talk about. And other than that, hit that subscribe button. It'll help us out a ton. We're just a bunch of normal-ass dudes who like to talk about fantasy football, wrestling, gaming. There's absolutely no money involved or anything yet. So, this is just an outlet for us to talk about the things that we love and hopefully find some more people out there who love the same things we do and want to talk about it. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions for me, fantasy-wise, you can ask down in the comments. Sit starts, trade advice, advice for me to better this podcast or better my show. Or you can hit me up at laughingmanfb@gmail.com. That's it. Good luck this weekend. Hope you guys can win some games. And I'll see y'all again on Tuesday when we talk about waivers. Until next time, see you.